All right, I guess we'll make a start. There we go. All right. Feel free to come closer if you like. It's going to be more of an informal Q&A kind of discussion back and forth where you guys can all ask questions. And yeah, feel free to interrupt me. As I said, informal. So today we're going to go through some command line tools that I found and that I've found pretty useful when using the terminal. I like to say that the terminal is my window manager, and if you don't know what a window manager is, it's the thing that organizes all your different apps that are open. So if you'd like to, if you have a computer, you want to follow along, you can visit this link, github.com/callumhoward/cli-tools. And then you will have access to this page. I'll also post this page. You know what? I can just post it on the event really quickly. And then you guys can just click it instead of having to type it. Alrighty. There we go. Okay, so I'm Callum. Nice to meet you guys, all of you who I haven't met yet. So this is a list. It's all the stuff I want to cover today in 1 hour. So some of it I might not be able to go into too much detail, but if you want me to go into more detail on something, please feel free to ask. First up, I want to talk to you guys about, well, let me just say first, how many people have used Apple computers or OS X?
Sorry, have used or
used? Like, yeah. You would do command line stuff on an OS X computer. Yeah. What about Linux? Who's got Linux? Ooh, nice.
What about Windows?
Windows? Anyone?
Walter.
Oh, one Windows person? Well, I have one link in here for a Windows person, actually.
It's a Linux download.
you're right. It kind of is. We'll get to it. Anyway, so if you've got a Mac, then and you haven't already checked out Homebrew, I recommend you check it out. It's the first link here. Little icons have apples there. They are ones that are just for Apple computers. If you have a Linux computer, then Linux Brew is also, that's like a port of Homebrew. What is Homebrew? Well, it's like a package manager for the Mac, which is great because, I mean, you can use apt-get. But the advantage of Homebrew is that you don't need sudo access. It installs all in packaged containers that can then be updated easily or removed, uninstalled, using Homebrew commands. The command is brew install, brew uninstall. You can use brew list to list all the things that you have. For example, list. And there we go. You can see all the different packages I have installed from brew. Just a few. Yeah. Linux Brew, much the same. Pretty easy to install. All you have to do is go to the respective page and copy this command into your terminal. And I believe it does even run on our lab computers because, of course, it doesn't require sudo. However, it does take up a bit of space. Like, can't remember, maybe 60 megabytes, which is not so great on our
Is there
on
gonna
our
be,
lab
like,
machines.
Are we going to get something so that it reduces that and stores it just for a group of users? That would be kind of nice.
That would be cool.
Because there's going to be a lot of replication.
Right. I have provided. You know what? I've put my dot files here as well.
Sure.
I'll put my brew list as well. But most of the tools that I use are listed on this page. So you can,
No, I mean, so on CSE,
right.
if we've all got a copy of Linux Brew,
Right.
surely we could have just all of those linked to the actual copy which someone stores.
Right.
And then we wouldn't have to have all those copies.
That'd be good. I'm not sure. Yeah, we could ask for them for the tools that are useful to actually be, put in there.
Do you know who we talked to about that? Because I'd be happy to do that.
I don't know, John.
I think there's a way that you can link it if it's on someone else's profile.
Really?
Because we've done that in the past with CSE stock posting games, so I'll look into it.
Oh, cool. Fantastic. Yeah, that might be posted on the page later. Okay, so we've done Linux Brew, Homebrew. If you haven't got that already, I recommend you get it. Every time you see a little beer icon, that means this is available through Brew. You can go Brew install Tmux, Brew install ZSH, etc. Okay, so next up, Tmux, right? Terminal multiplexers. There's also one called Screen. It comes default on Linux, which is handy. However, it's not as good as Tmux. They recently introduced the ability to do things like vertical split screen. So you can do that on screen now. So what is Tmux? Terminal multiplexer means you can have, it's like a window manager for your terminal. You can, do all fancy stuff here, switch over here. You can scroll back in each of them, copy text from previous ones. You can maximize. You can change the layouts. No, you can't. Oh, I had a little thing where. I guess you can't see it. I had a thing that showed what keys I'm pressing, but I can say what they are. So with Tmux, you have a thing called a prefix, and that is how I input commands. So, for example, what I'm doing to switch between the screens here is I'm going Control A. Then I can press Control A, lift my hands off, and press O. So by pressing Control A, it waits for the next one character will be the command, right? Control A, O. Yeah, like Emacs, I guess. You can set the prefix. The prefix by default is actually Control B, which is really annoying because it's quite a stretch. So, which leads me on to, here's a script. Of course, you can do it with Brew, but if you don't want the huge, disk quota expenditure of Brew, then you can use this script, which installs it without having root access. So that works on our lab machines. Tmux plugin manager is a good one to get. Even if you only have one plugin, and that plugin is Tmux Sensible. So what Tmux Sensible does is it sets up some smart defaults, like it sets up, default number of lines you can scroll back. Default, it sets it to Control A rather than Control B, things that are kind of sensible. And it has them all commented here. As you can see, allow color, 256 color, which is very good. And there's a bunch of different things you can do. That can be installed by first installing the Tmux plugin manager. And that is installed by git cloning and then just copying this into a file called .tmux.conf. I have as I mentioned, I've posted my dot files up here, so you can have a look at my tmux.conf. If you're not familiar with the way dot files work, the dot at the front of the file name means it's a hidden file. And usually, let's see, if I show you IH because of hidden files, oops, and I scroll up, I have all these dot files here in my home directory, which wouldn't normally come up because they're kind of hidden. And they're all like config files. So if you want to see what's in my config, you can always check that. All you have to do is, if you want to use it, remove the columns bit, so it starts with the dot. I just did that so you can actually see the files when you download it. Alright, where were we? So, any questions so far? I'm racing through it, but yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with tmux. I'm going to come back to it in a bit and show you some cool stuff you can do in combination with SSH with tmux. To start it, once you have it installed, you can just let me quit everything for a second. So this is just my blank terminal, no tmux running, right? You can just type tmux. You don't have to worry about the rest of that, and it will start a new tmux session, right? Now, you see this menu bar at the top. I've got the date. This is all customizable. I've set it up with the colors I like. Then you can make new tabs up the top by going prefix, which is Control A, and then C to create. Okay? Create another one. Create another one. Easy. Then I can switch between the tabs with Control A N and Control A P, next and previous. This is all at the links. If you click on these links here, it gives you guides on how to do it and what the getting started is. Manual page. That's a bit heavy actually, but there are other ones linked as well. Then, of course, as I've shown you, you can easily split lines. This is very handy for if you've got a text editor. Say, I don't know, this is a random file. Say I wanted to, just say this was a C file. I wanted to quickly compile it. You know what? Why don't I just find a C file and actually compile it? Okay. Oh look, there's a first.c. I think that's hello world. Alright, so I have this this here. This is Vim, by the way. But what I can do is quickly open a new terminal. It is automatically at the same directory that my Vim was started in. And I can go gcc blah blah blah. What is that? And then run it like that. So.
I'm
Sorry?
expecting to see like a hole appear in the floor and like head pop through.
Oh right. What's going on? Okay. Anyway. This is another cool thing you can do. I don't do it because I found it distracting actually after a while. But you can dim inactive windows. You can have it so it's very customizable, so you can do all sorts of things. See, this person's top bar is quite different. Yeah. And you can dim inactive windows. By default, the bar is actually at the bottom. But yeah. Lots of exciting things you can do. All you have to do is Google how to do it. If you can think of it, there's probably a way to do it. I found a lot of cool things by thinking, oh, that'd be cool if I could get, my other panes to dim when I'm not using them. And then I looked it up and someone's done it. So, People have thought of a lot of things. Anyway, next up, shell, right? How many of you are using not bash? Okay, fantastic. And I guess the rest of you can learn something right now. Bash is a good default. It's the default shell. However, Zush is even cooler. Z shell is a very cool shell, right? And it lets you do some of the colorful things like colors in your ls, or it lets you scroll through. See, I'm scrolling through my history right now, and it's only picking up bits of my history that have CD in the name. So that's very handy if you're trying to find a command, say like a grep command that you did a while back, but you can't remember the the regex that you used. I can scroll back through all my grep commands and just see, oh, maybe it was that one. I don't think it was, but yeah. Any questions? Cool. All right. Also, CD. If you press tab, you get this nice interactive kind of thing where you can, go to whatever you want. You can partially complete. You can, yeah, pretty fancy. Sorry? Yes. Yes, good idea. Why don't I go into the repository for that GitHub page? What did I call it? CD, CLI, tools. Now, have a look here. We've got an indicator of our Git status. So it's clean right now, which is why it's got the green O. But if I made a file and put some gibberish in it, Control D, now it's dirty, which means that I have uncommitted files in my repository. And of course you can do git status. Oh, this is coming out later, but you know what? I might just show you now. There's a cool little thing you can get set up. It's git status -sb, right? And that sets up a concise git status. If you've used git status before, you don't need that fancy, long-winded message that it gives you. What's all that text? It's just unnecessary, right? So git status SB, the way to go. Now, you can actually add it as an alias, a git alias, so that it shortens to git, I don't know, I put it as git SB, right? Which is much faster to type. But then I wasn't even satisfied with that, because that's still too much, so I just aliased it to S. That's in my .zshrc, which is the config file for my shell. So I have a few others like that as well. So just two-letter aliases, things you use often, like git add test. By the way, you can complete commands in Z shell as well. So I can complete git commands even though it's aliased and everything. I can also complete, which is very handy because it knows to only complete files that are uncommitted. So you're ever searching through which files are committed, which files aren't, you can get a very quick view like that. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah. It also completes other commands. Say you're trying to kill a process. I don't know, sleep 20, right? Open a new thing, kill. I press tab. Do I want to see all the lines? Yes, I do. And one of those will be the sleep command somewhere.
Can you just type sleep in and then it should be able to commit to the end of the line as well? So you might have to run it again now.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember whether it does partial completion on the end of the line as well.
Kill. Oh, that's so. If I went pkill, which is different from kill because it actually uses the names. And then I type, I've got to keep doing that. There we go. I can go through all the ones that begin with S until I get to sleep. I can kill it, and there we go. Process terminated. Right? Pretty cool stuff. What else have we got? Well, how about git logs, right? Git logs. Everybody's done this before. Git log. It's kind of an ugly log of all the changes. It's got all these. Anyway, if you haven't learned already, there's also a pretty git log, which gives you branches and kind of shortened hashes. These hashes are enough to do the to be used in git commands. Tmux allows you to just select it, and it will be copied to your clipboard, which is very handy. If you want to check out that particular commit, I can go that, check out that, and it does it. Yeah, so my git history is different now. And if I want to get back to master. Alright. So another cool thing, I haven't showed you how to do that, so here's how to do that. Okay, so to get that pretty printing git log, here we go. This is how we do it. Pretty git log. It's a link there. Let's open it. All right. So blah blah blah. Border the screen. Blah blah blah. Here's a screenshot. Here you go. So this is if you want to type out the whole command, but nobody wants to do that. So instead, we use this command here to add to our git config an alias, which is in this case LG. So git LG will do your pretty logs, right? And you can just type this in and it will work.
And is the rest just color and abbreviation stuff? Is that what I'm seeing there?
Yep, that's all to do with, so this is the format string. Yep. This is how
because my understanding is you don't actually need to do all of that. You just get long commit messages sometimes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Cool. I mean, up to you. You can experiment if you like. Take out bits that you don't like. It's fully customizable. That's the great part about it. Another cool thing, git lg-p. I discovered this recently, actually. And I think this is part of what that extra text in there is. Allows you to do colored diffs. So what did I change in this line here? Well, I added curated. The word curated. It's easy to see, right? And here I added a link in the markdown. This is me editing this at 3 a.m. this morning. And you can see all my changes like that. And you can even scroll back to, wow, that was a lot. Oh, it's all in one file this way. Okay. Yeah. Until 11 hours ago. All right. So, any questions? Cool. Alrighty. Have we learnt something so far? Yeah? Yeah? One person has learned something? Alrighty. I hope you guys learned something. I'm sure, if you haven't learned something yet, I'm sure there will be something you haven't seen before coming up. Alright. So, we saw briefly in that funny long command how to do those crazy alias commands. Here's a more simple one. This one will alias git sb as git status -sb, which gives you that nice sb, gives you a nice thing like that. All right. And that's a general thing on how to do git aliases. Cool. All right, and not only that, but if you haven't set it up, you really should set it up. SSH keys for your GitHub means you don't have to type a password in every time, right? Saves a lot of time.
How do you protect your thing with a password as well, so that you have like a basic password so that you can use your Git, so that somebody who just comes up to your computer won't just type away and all of a sudden your Git repository's gone?
Sure. It actually asks you for a password when you're setting it up. So SSH keygen, and it will go through generating your pair. Here it'll ask you enter a file. Enter a passphrase. This is the one. So you get your public key, your private key, encryption is RSA. You can set it to, if you want to be super secure, you put 4096 here. That's quite a high level of encryption. Like, yeah, it's pretty good. And if you're really fussed about, someone getting on your computer, you don't have like a screensaver lock on your computer, then you can type a passphrase in here. I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm pretty lazy, and so I like to be able to just hit things and it git commits and everything goes without me having to type my 25-character password in. So, so I just leave it blank. If you leave blank and just press enter, it won't require a password. But you're still protected, of course, by your public key and private key. So only your computer can do the secure handshake with GitHub, and only your computer can push the code. All you have to do is follow these steps, and that will work like that. Now, if you're super fast, you can even enable GitHub two-factor authentication. So that means, like, every time you push, you whip out your phone and it'll send you a text message. You type in the pass code that it sends you. So, like, yeah, anyway, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, next one's pretty exciting. Ranger. I like this one. This one's pretty cool. Who's heard of Ranger? All right. This is good. This will make living in the terminal so much easier. This is a file manager for the command line, right? So it's actually just a simple Python program, but you install it and it works just like this. Ranger. I type Ranger, and then here we go. It's like a pane layout like you would see on a Mac, I guess. And I can go to this file. I can go very easily navigate files. I can use key shortcuts to go to different places. I can use find from here. It has support for, it will go straight to a text editor of choice if you are navigating and you just keep pressing the arrow. Otherwise, it gives you a preview of what's in the file, which is pretty cool. And this uses the standard pager from Linux. So I can hit I right now and just page through this as if it was less. So this is the markdown for what we're doing right now. All right, pretty cool, huh? Yeah?
Isn't this
pretty cool.
similar for Vim?
Sorry?
Isn't this something, or does the
Yeah. So Vim has one. I prefer this one compared to Vim's one, actually. There's a couple in Vim. There's the standard one, which is NetRW, something like that. There's also NerdTree, which is like that. But the thing is, I guess they're for inside Vim. What if you don't want to edit the text, right? What if it's, who knows? See, what I use it, I actually don't use Ranger for, getting into my text editor. The thing I use it for the most is actually switching folders. So watch this. I'm in my home directory right now. You can see because my prompt has the little home squiggle. The tilde, yep. So I have Ranger aliased to RA because I can't be bothered typing the rest of it, right? RA, very simple command. I go to the folder I want. I can, up here, I can go bang, straight there. I get into this folder, I want to go into this folder, I'm there, right? I didn't have to do CD, ls, CD, ls, CD, ls over and over again, right? Saves you a lot of time. even with like autocomplete and everything like that.
But can't you just use CD with the tab completion? And
That assumes that you know what it looks like on the inside. You don't know what's in each of those directories.
no, that's what the tab completion is for.
No. What it's saying, you don't actually know anything about the system. You just like you can look up tab in the server file. But you just
Right, it's a good point. I mean, sometimes I do use the autocomplete as well. But say you just started at a company and they've got a huge, code base of PHP and JavaScript, ugly stuff, and you want to get a quick handle on you want to get a quick handle on how everything's fitting in, like all this object orientation happening all over the place. There's classes and subclasses and inheritance and all this. Well, you can quickly go through and get a quick syntax highlighted preview of each file just to give a little peek inside. If you want a little bit more of a peek, you can hit I and scroll through it all easily, or you can page up, page down, all easily without having to, it's very quick. There are key shortcuts to mark files. So if you're jumping between two different folders, say you're jumping between the tests folder and the class you're working on folder, you can jump backwards and forwards. It's got support for tabs as well, if you needed that, and it changes your directory for you, which is really handy. Now, to get the directory changing, that's a little bit of an extra thing. Where did we go? Ranger. Here. That's a little bit of an extra little script. If you're using ZSH, which I do recommend, actually I've got more to say on ZSH. There's heaps to say, actually. Then there's a different script for Bash and ZSH. They're pretty easy to Google. I've linked the ZSH one. But that's a script. You put it in your .zshrc, which is your ZSH zshell config file. And then you can use this ranger cd command, which of course I have aliased to RA. Nice and easy. Okay, it's just a function, just a shell function really. So, cool. Another one I use for navigating around is mkcd instead of mkdir, right? What it does, if it isn't already intuitive, is it makes a directory and then changes into that directory. Because all the time, you find you often have to do make directory cd into the directory. If it's a long name, you just type that name twice. Even if you've tab completed, it's an annoying amount of time wasted, right? Make cd, you just add this to your zshrc file, and it's just a simple function which change two commands together. Easy. Right, and the -p is handy too. I'm pretty sure. Oh, another cool thing about ZSH is if you're ever wondering what the flags do on a command. Well, okay, make directory. I want to see what all these what flags are available to me. I press tab. Oh, there's only two. I can. Yeah. Okay. -p though is the cool one. -p will make directories as needed. So if you go make directory blah 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 blah, it will make all the parent directories on the way down.
That's sweet.
If I add -p. Here we go. So, what was it called? Astiv. There we go. There we go. All there. And I can actually, you can select multiple by hitting space. And similar to Vim, dd to delete, I think. Delete. Yes. Yes. Okay. Deleted. All right. So, moving on, how are we going for time? All right, we have to move quickly. Okay, I didn't talk to you about, okay, ZSH. It's great. I recommend it. But one of the really cool things is all my ZSH. Possibly, you know, the most fun, I don't know, GitHub project to exclaim out loud, right? It gives you all these fancy colors and themes right off the bat. So you don't have to like spend hours and hours configuring your fancy colors like I have. You can just, well, I also use all my ZSH. All you have to do is install it by copying this command after you've installed ZSH. Actually, ZSH comes by default on most Linux distributions. It certainly comes by default on Mac. But you can, of course, update to the latest version with Brew because the versions that usually come with your machine aren't usually up to date. So you grab that, then it gives you access to very, very cool themes, plugins. You can very easily add plugins. There's a whole C file. So these are just a few of the plugins that you can use to get different colors, right? There's a solarized one. The one I use, there are many to choose from. The one I use is a modified version of this one, which I think has pretty nice colors. So that's one cool bit of customization. You get all this, Git things or whatever you like. The thing I like about this theme, actually, and you can do it on other themes as well, is that it separates my commands. So if you look into some of my history, right, see it's quite easy to see where my commands are. Well, not only because they're slightly bolded and put in white, which is another thing I'll get to, but they're separated by a new line, right? Which is really handy for separating, like, what's the difference between the output and my line. I can very easily see where the commands are rather than all being in like one block and I have to search through to find. It just saves your eyes a few, saves your brain precious thought power, Yes. Who's learned something? Awesome. Fantastic. Who is itching to try out some of these themes? Yeah. Awesome. So it doesn't stop there. You can go even more crazy with your customization because, so new line after prompt, I talked about that. Completion of file names, flags, history, yeah, I talked about that. Okay. ZSH auto suggestions. You may have noticed when I'm typing stuff in, like, see, it automatically comes up with suggestions like that. That is actually something from a different shell, fish shell, but there's a plugin which lets you have it in Z shell as well. So fish shell is another shell, but the reason why I use ZSH is because I got these plugins to do the best things of fish shell in Z shell, and Z shell has a lot of backwards compatibility with bash. So even if you wanted to run bash scripts, they'd likely work fine if you used ZSH. Of course, your bash scripts will always use bash if you go shebang /bin/bash, right? But ZSH has some very cool additions that let you do a lot of complicated stuff in bash scripting in much less complicated fashion, if you want to get into that. Yeah, so it comes up with completions in gray, and I can, complete. Strings are, color-coded, and file names that are valid will have underscores. If they're not valid, they won't have an underscore, which tells you very quickly if it exists. If I misspell something, I can tell straight away because it's not underlined, right? Very handy. Oh, did I just... Yeah, I did. Alright. So those are those two things there. They're borrowed from Fish. They're ZSH plugins. You can go to those links to see how to install them. Pretty cool. Fish is also there if you want to try it out. It is pretty funky. Yeah, check it out. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Speaking of which, I haven't added this one, but I have this. This is pretty cool. Oh, there's my. All right, I can.
Oh,
Pretty funky. But yeah.
that screen looks older than me.
It's supposed to be an Apple II screen. Oh, I get it. So if I move, hang on. If I move this, okay. Actually, I have, right. I have the thing with the keys now. I should have done that earlier. So, Control A, colon if you want to split that way. Control A % if you want to split that way. Very cool. Okay. Where were we? Oh, I was going to talk about hotkeys. This is, you know what? We don't have time for that. But basically, you can read up on it if you would like, and I recommend you do it because hotkeys are what's going to save you the time navigating around in terminal land, right? There's two different ways you can go for the shell. That is read line keys, which are the default, which are Emacs keys, pretty much. So, and I do recommend you learn them anyway, even if you're not going to use this, because they're really handy. So, Control E is go to the end of the line, which is really handy for my completions here, because I can just hit Control E, and it will zoom to the end of the line. Control A is actually go to the beginning of the line. Things like Alt F to go forward one word, Alt B to go back one word. And you might say, well, I can just use Control and arrow keys. But the advantage here is I'm not taking my fingers off the home row, which means to get to the next thing I want to type is that much faster. I can go Control K to kill to the end of the line if I want to then type some other stuff. I can go Control G. Okay, no, that doesn't work. It usually, I think it would work in Bash, but I haven't got it programmed in. Control C. What I was trying to do was kill to the beginning of the line. Control D can kill your tabs, because it's just like end of file. It will just end your terminal. These actually all work in Nano. So if you learn the read line keys, you can actually get quite fast just with Nano. I've seen some quite fast people using Nano just with those keys. So go ahead and learn them. If you like, they will speed up your workflow, I bet. You can also do Vim mode. So I can type stuff. And then if I use escape, see I'm in normal command if you are familiar with Vim, and I can do all these Vim commands now. Pretty handy. All right. So terminal emulators, I'll go through very quickly. I use OS X Terminal. I like it. It's nice and clean. Some people like iTerm 2. I like this one because when you're not focused, it can make your thing slightly transparent, and when you are focused, it will do this glossy blur thing. So even though it's still transparent, it's much easier to read text on. We also notice that, this is sidetracked, but commands that aren't commands will come up in red. So it'll tell you your command's not going to work before you even hit enter, which is nice. All right. But if you'd like to investigate, iTerm 2 is there as well. If you're on Windows, this is the Windows bit, the only Windows bit. Commander, which is, Lambda Commander. Yeah, whatever it is. But it's probably the coolest you're ever going to get a terminal looking on Windows. Anyway. So, yeah, you can look at how to do that. It's a... I think it is. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know too much about that. I don't use Windows. All right. For colors, now this is another layer on top of the theme you choose, right? Because you'll notice that my colors are not quite like the colors in that YS theme I showed you, right? My colors are a bit more muted and a bit more greeny, right? That's because I've chosen this theme here, which I've downloaded off the internet. Like if I chose a different theme like that, it would look completely different. Aerogel. Huh. Try that one. Wow. Nah, I don't like it. So what I've done is I've set it up the way I like it. Now I want to show you this cool website here, which, so basically it's for preview themes. It's for like modifying the 12 colors, right? So in your terminal, every terminal has this list of, well, it's more than 12 actually. It's like 16 colors, including the color of your cursor and the background. No, just color of your cursor. And these colors are usually, your standard, these are the external ones. They're just, you've got your set of darker ones and you've got your set of brighter ones, right? But you can modify these with special colors to make everything really nice. So here is, a handy preview page of what they look like. Here it's got like a lot of different ones. This is the default one. Looks pretty nice. You can change it to lots of different ones. There's ones that make it look like Google. There's ones that make it look like Sublime. There's ones that like that. There's of course everybody's favorite Solarized. I don't know why people use that. Lots of crazy ones. Whatever you like. Go to town. Oh, Matrix.
Not so much. Monakai is nice, I think.
Monakai? Yeah. That's the Sublime one, or the Sublime-like one. Alright. And here you go. You just click on whichever terminal emulator or whatever you have that you want to. You can even do it for Xcode, Windows Command Prompt, Sublime, TextMate, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, check that out. That's pretty cool. I, however, used one that I found called Gotham. So if you're interested in that, check it out. It's basically the colors that you saw on mine. And they've got themes for Vim, Emacs, Chrome even, although the Chrome one's not that great, Xcode, etc., etc. And if you've got iTerm, I found this page which has a bunch of other cool ones. You might like to take inspiration from them, steal the color codes, whatever you like. So there's a lot of customization you can do. Yeah.
So just to clarify,
yeah,
the 16 colors that you have, you set the actual colors with your terminal emulator, but it's your ZSH theme that actually says which color to use, which code to use for what.
Right.
Okay.
So if I was using the one I was using before, which was just more normal colors, Pro 2, right? This is what the default YS theme looks like. It's more like that, right? Sharper colors that are kind of a bit harsher.
Yeah.
Green is still green, right? Blue is still blue. It's just a different shade of blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you see this one here that's yellow has been switched to be a more, a different color. That's because in Gotham one they've taken the liberty of changing these bright colors, which aren't used as often, to colors that aren't actually what they're supposed to be. And that way they can get a greater color palette and have more subtle shades. What else have we got? Fonts. I use Inconsolata, and this link here will bring you to a version which has Tmux and Powerline mod. The Tmux mod gives you this, if you're on Linux, it doesn't matter too much, but if you're on Mac, and you try Tmux, you may notice it has a dotted line. This line, this vertical line here is dotted. That's because the character for line that is used is not the normal pipe, it's a different one. It doesn't go the full width in OS X fonts. But if you get a patched one, then it will. Also, if you're using normal terminal rather than iTerm 2, then I recommend this mouse term plugin, which enables the mouse. Because by default, OS X does this fancy thing, like if you less a file, don't give me any file, and you scroll, it will normally type up and down, which will go up and down in the file, right? However, while it's good for less, it's less good for other things, right? So it's much more handy to be able to like scroll back in your terminal rather than, you know, if I didn't have the plugin installed, it would start scrolling all over the place or typing arrows or something, right? So that's a cool thing if you've got a Mac. Better snap tool. If you don't have, if you have a Mac as well, I recommend getting a snap tool, which allows you to, you know, move your windows around very quickly with key shortcuts. Something that Windows has had for a while. And in the next version of Mac, they're actually getting a cool tiling split screen thing as well, which is cool. If you're on Linux, I recommend checking out the tiling window manager. We have Xmonad installed on the lab computers. i3 is also quite a good one. I've heard a lot of good things about it. You can check them out there. What tiling window managers are is they automatically divide your screen every time you open a new application. So if I opened a new application now, it would automatically go half and half. Basically, so you never see the desktop. So all your windows are fully maximized all the time, and lots of key shortcuts. Basically, it's like Tmux for your whole OS. I mean, I live in the terminal now, so I don't even need a window tiling manager. But it's definitely worth checking out anyway. Git, we've been through that. Okay, FileMan, yep. SSH. Okay, cool thing is I can. Okay, don't have time to show you guys, but set up some SSH aliases, right? So instead of having to type SSH into my whole CSE account each time, I just go SSH CSE. The link's there to show you how to do that. It's just a simple command, and there, I'm in. So I've got my things changed to my username, and it's got the server that we're in. Now that's important because I want to show you guys something, right? And that is what happens when I do Tmux, right? So I've got this new session here. Let's ls-r. It's going to do that, right? But now I'm in another. You know what? I will kill it. I'll go. Yes. Wait. Did it work? Yes. So I just killed that whole connection. I killed my SSH connection. I shut down the whole window, right? Disappeared. Right? Well, so you think. But now I go SSH, CSE. This is a magic trick, right? Wait for it. Tmux, attach. And there it is. My terminal is back. We're back. So if I was, connecting over a 3G connection and it dropped out, bam, I'm back. Other thing you can do is you can start a Tmux session, run actually it's probably not advisable, I think CSC doesn't like that, but you can run a program that's going to take a long time, right? You can leave it going in Tmux. I've done this on servers before, running scrapers. I don't want to sit there for hours waiting for the scraper to complete before I can close my window. I want to pack up and go home and come back in the morning. I start a Tmux session, start it running, and then all I have to do is go back, SSH in, and then Tmux attach, and I'm back, right? Easy. You can even create multiple Tmux sessions, and of course, I can have multiple things.
Does that mean you're technically still logged in the server.
Yeah. Basically, it only disappears unless the only way it disappears is if you kill it, or if one of the admins goes in and kills the process because they find it's like using all the processing resources, or you shut down the server. That's the same for your computer. So you see I have this tmux session open. I just quit my terminal. Just quit like that, right? Start it back up, and I hope it's all still there. Yeah, there we go. All still there. So it only dies if you tell it to die or you restart your computer. Pretty cool, huh? All right. There's also another cool one. Who's ever used SSH and been really annoyed by the lag? Yep. Okay, you're going to love this one. Mosh. Mobile shell, right? With the caveat that I haven't figured out how to get it on the lab computers. But it's really cool because what it does is it creates this thing. It's like a replacement for SSH, right? It actually uses SSH in it. But what it does is it allows you to type as fast as you want, and you might be able to see in this small photo here, it's got this underlined bit. That's the bit that's not synced yet. So basically, you can type as fast as you want. The latency will be like as if you're on your own computer, and it will catch up as fast as it can, sending the keystrokes to the server and still keeping it all in sync. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool? Yeah. So check that out if you've ever got an SSH server that you can figure out how to run Mosh on. As I said, haven't been able to figure out how to get it on the lab computers, unfortunately. Pair programming, there's a lot of resources here. Fantastic resources for different tools you can use for pair programming. Some of the Teammate and WeMux, they allow multiple users. Multiple users can already do this with normal TMUX. They can log into the same session, right? So if I gave someone else my SSH password or I SSH'd in on someone else's laptop, we could both type in the terminal that I've got open, right? Anyone can attach as long as they're doing that. Teammate just simplifies the process. It sets up an SSH host on a cloud somewhere, and then multiple people can SSH into that. It gives you an address. You just copy and paste that into the command line on your buddy's computer, and bang, you're in a terminal session together, and you can both type and do all your pair programming. Fantastic. WeMux goes one step further. Has the disadvantage you have to set up an account. So it's not as quick. It's pretty quick still to set up. And what it does is it allows you to have multiple cursors, like in Google Docs. So you can have multiple cursors in tmux, zooming all over the place, going to different windows, all sorts of things. Really exciting, right? Really horrible, did you say?
Yes. That's scary.
Rogue mode, it's called. And just racing through this, this is a little tip for OS X users who are trying to use GDB. You can't, well, it's not easy because OS X has this funky security protocol, stops you getting in. Even if you download GDB through Brew, which you can do, Homebrew, it still needs to be code signed. You need to be an Apple developer, blah, blah, blah. Use LDB. Works with most GDB commands. You can click on this link and it gives you a key for all the ones that do work, or otherwise what the equivalences are. It's basically an Apple version of GDB. And it's actually really nice because it has all colors and it points to exactly where in the line your mistake is, all such stuff like that.
I think we got to stop, so that's
all right, no worries. I will post a link. No, the link is already on the page. Be sure to check out the rest if you like. There's lots of other cool stuff in there. Hope you've learned something today. Thanks for coming.
If you haven't already signed the ARC format side, can you sign it as well, please?
Hey, Callum, is
Yeah.
there a good tiling window manager?
Thank you.
A good tiling window manager for Mac?
There's one called Amethyst.
Amethyst. And that's it?
And
Because I've heard of that one, and I was wondering if you could get i3 on Mac, or if that's a pain.
It's a pain. Well, you can do funky things with X Windows,
Yeah.
but then you're basically running these.
Yeah.
May
as well just not.
I've investigated. There's another one that is quite,
That's what I use.
spectacle.
Yeah,
it's
it's
free.
It's best.
It's tiling?
Doesn't do automatic.
It
tiling?
doesn't do auto tiling.
Yeah, no.
It's
See,
just that,
it's just like the one I use, right?
yeah. And
Yeah, yeah.
It's annoying because it doesn't work too well with most
Yeah.
browsers and always like bugs out.
Yeah.
It's like disrespectful.
Yeah, I just keep saying all Linux.
It like resizes for a couple of seconds during back and forth, and then finds it's like this lock, which is the annoying.
We'll just use Windows for the window.
Yeah, just Window Manager's window operating system is like